Hello, this is Paula Martinson, the Short Sale Master, and today we're going to talk about how to save your home from foreclosure and what options you have. The number one thing that I always tell my clients is first call your mortgage lender, call your bank. So if you've missed 3 consecutive payments and they haven't initiated foreclosure proceedings, they will not accept any more payments. If you notice that you missed 3 consecutive payments, they filed what's called a notice of default if you're in a judicial foreclosure state, and they will not accept any more payments. That's because if they do accept a payment from you, you could dispute that they are actually proceeding with foreclosure. So if they do accept payments, it's typically because they are going to work with you. So don't be surprised if you've already missed 3 consecutive payments, if you're already in the official foreclosure stage and they don't accept any more payments. So if they're not accepting any more payments, it's typically not good news. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't work with you altogether, but it's typically not good news. So when you talk to them, so my advice to you is that if you see that you're going to be in default, or you're starting to have problems, don't wait until you've already missed the 3rd payment. Don't wait till you're in foreclosure. Be proactive and call them as soon as you know you're going to have problems making your mortgage payment. Ask them what options do they offer. They're more likely to work with you before you're in the official foreclosure process than once you're already there. Do they have payment arrangements? Typically with payment arrangements, they'll have you do like a large chunk down, and then they'll do your regular mortgage payment and tack on a little bit more every month for a predetermined amount of time. Typically it's about 6 months, 3 to 6 months, for you to become current that way. Now that might work for you if you were out of a job and now you have a job, and obviously considering that job that you have will allow you to make your regular payment plus more, and to get caught up. But that's not everybody's situation. So oftentimes payment arrangements is not a good option, because if you couldn't make your mortgage payment to begin with, what makes them think you can pay your regular payment plus a little bit more? So it's not always an option that works for everybody, but it might fit you. So they'll let you know what the payment arrangements would be that they would consider. There's also what's called a partial claim. So if you have an FHA-backed mortgage, you can take out a second mortgage, so it's backed by HUD. You don't have to make monthly payments on it. It doesn't incur any interest. It's just basically a loan that will get you current. Now with FHA-backed mortgages, you're only allowed one review for a workout option once every 2 years. So if they have reviewed you for a loan modification and then a few months down the road you're like, well, what about a partial claim? Most of the time they will go ahead and say no. Now there are things that we do to escalate, and at the end of this video I'm going to give you some resources like HUD.gov, the HUD National Servicing Center, where you could potentially escalate to get an exception, but those are the rules. There's something, if you don't have an FHA-backed mortgage, some banks will offer that option where they'll tack on all the arrears and everything to the back, similar to a partial claim. That's if you don't have an FHA-backed mortgage. Sometimes they'll even do a loan modification, but for loan modifications, you have to be employed or have some steady source of income, like Social Security or disability. You have to have a steady source of income. They will not modify you if you're unemployed, because you can't sustain a mortgage payment. There's also what's called a short refinance. It doesn't happen very often. I personally have never seen it happen, but I've heard of it happening somewhere, out there across the nation. But that's where they basically refinance your loan even though you're upside down. And sometimes they'll even forgive a portion of the debt. Again, that's not very common, but I did want to put it out there. Now, most lenders, like I said, will require you to have a stable job or a stable income source for any type of workout, really, other than, if you can pay them in full, then great, they'll take that. And also for a modification, they will want the property to be owner occupied, so not an investment property. And the guidelines will vary according to your lender. So there's the servicer who makes the payments, who communicates with you, and there's the investor, so whoever backs your mortgage, whoever owns your mortgage. So that could be FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. So FHA is Ginnie Mae. It could be a private investor. A lot of loans are owned by the Bank of New York Mellon. It could be Deutsche Bank. It could be a private portfolio, which their guidelines are going to vary a lot more because they can set whatever they want. But if it's a government-backed loan, they're pretty standard. And again, I'll give you some resources of where to call. Here's some tips of with dealing with banks. I've been working with banks since 2005, and I pretty much know their game. You have to document every call you make, absolutely no exceptions, and ask for the employee ID, their name, put the date down and what the conversation was about. And it also helps if you called and you were on hold for 50 minutes and then you got disconnected and you got transferred 7 times, document that. Because if down the road you're going to have to escalate, it helps to have a log of everything and send the bank like, look, this is what you put me through. And they see, wow, this customer has been calling every day and this is what our service, it can help you. So document everything. Call every day. And I mean that literally. That's what we do. We call in our files every day because we need to make sure that they receive the documents, that they've assigned it. We hold their feet to the fire. So if they say they're going to sign it in 2 days, guess what? I'm calling them in 2 days. Like, have you assigned that file? Because that's really the only way to get anything done with these banks. And I know it can be frustrating, especially if you have a job and you have to call during business hours. That's just what it takes to get things done with the bank. Ask for timelines and call them the day after. Like, hey, did you assign the file like you said you would? And then if they don't assign it, then ask for an escalation. Put that in, hold them accountable for what they say. And know your timelines, when things should be happening. And, if you don't do this on a daily basis like we do, you may not know when things are supposed to happen, but the best you can do is ask them when things are supposed to happen and then hold them to those timelines. Now, if you don't have time to work with a bank on your own, there are companies out there that will offer loan modifications or all sorts of things. I don't recommend any of those. Most of the time, it's a scam, or if it's not a scam, it could be legitimate, but they ask you for so much money where you could be putting that money towards your mortgage. So I would say do it yourself. It can be really frustrating, but you can use that money that you were going to pay somebody else to do it and towards actually paying your mortgage. There are some free resources. If you go to hope.org, they will work on prepping, the documentation, sending everything over to the bank for a loan modification. There's community development offices in your local area. They also will do loan modifications free of charge. There's a HUD National Servicing Center. So if you do have an FHA-backed mortgage and you're having any problems with your servicer or your lender, you call them and escalate on them pretty much. Same thing with Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. If your loan is backed by either one, just go ahead and call the investor directly to let them know what the bank is putting you through. And as a last resource, go to the Attorney General's office. When we're working on files for our clients, and we don't do loan modifications, so we wouldn't be able to help you with that. But if you've tried everything and you cannot keep your home and you want to salvage your credit as much as possible and settle the debt, then you can come to us and we'll work with the bank on selling your property. And at that point, we go to the president's office, we go to the Attorney General's office, we go to the OCC, which is the entity that regulates the banks. We have no qualms escalating to get things done. And most of the time, that's really what it takes to get a short sale done. Sometimes short sales can take, a tremendous amount of time and just put people through the ringer. But you'll see that most of our clients say that it was an easy transaction for them, stress-free, that they were, we communicated with them throughout the process. And we've had short sales take as little as a week. And, that's not, the norm. That's not very common, but they don't have to take forever. They don't have to drag on forever, because every month that you're late, it's hitting your credit. So it's dinging your credit every month that you're late. So the longer it lasts, the more it's going to be damaging to your credit. So just wanted to let you know we are here as a resource. Everybody's situation is unique and very different. So when you're ready to call us and talk about your particular situation, we'll give you a free no obligation consultation. Call us at 801-688-4539 or the number that appears on the screen. And don't forget to go to theshortsalemaster.com to get your free video series about everything you need to know about short sales. This is Paula Martinson, the Short Sale Master, reminding you you can bounce back.